Onnit fucking podcast, my man, Mark Smelly Bell.
I can't believe I'm here in person.
How did you get the nickname Smelly?
Oh my God. Two mean older brothers growing up, and I hated taking showers. And my other nicknames were worse than Smelly. Vinegar Butt was my original nickname, and thank God that didn't stick.
We gotta run that back.
I know. A bunch of terrible nicknames. They just always beat the shit out of me, made fun of me, and so they realized that Smelly made me sad and made me cry, and so that name stuck.
Yeah.
Here I am. So I'm smelly and I'm sticking to it.
You're like, that'll never stick. I hate that fucking name.
I hate you guys.
And like, oh, okay, that's the one.
I'm going to go bury your Star Wars figures in the front lawn, you bastards. That's what I did. They couldn't find them. And then a big plow came and like redid our front lawn or whatever, and they could never find their Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and whatever else they had at the time.
Back to the earth they go. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think that breaks down. So if they really wanted it, they could go fishing for it somehow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dig up that brand new lawn.
It's still there in LaGrangeville, New York somewhere. Poughkeepsie. Shout out Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie. I got one of my boys from growing up. Mike Katz is from Poughkeepsie. Not the Mike Katz in Pumping Iron.
Oh, you got me all excited there for a minute. Where's my crusher and my T-shirt?
Yeah, different Mike Katz. So we got you here in Austin.
Yeah, I love this area. It's fucking nice.
It's fucking beautiful, right?
It's really cool. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, I got to meet you at been a fan of yours for a long time. Got to meet you at Jesse Burdick's wedding.
Oh yeah.
Our good friend.
Yeah.
My old strength coach.
That was a
best man.
Crazy wedding. We were talking about it the other day. We were like, was that real? Did they really roll out a taco truck after we ate? And they really rolled out a dessert truck after we ate?
I think they knew the clientele they were serving. Like, hey, we'll have dinner, but all you fuckers are going to be starving once we start dancing and moving. So we'll have round two. We'll have our late night course.
You said Starrett was talking trash, right? He was like, I'm going to eat 4 pounds of ice cream.
Kelly Starrett was like,
one scoop.
We going off diet? We gonna do this? We going to high carb it up? I'm like, carb night, motherfucker. Let's get down. Yeah, and then I had 4 scoops of ice cream, couldn't even move, and he's still working on his first. And he's like, oh, you beat me.
There were so many kids there. All the desserts got scavenged. I didn't get much. So I was kind of sad. I need a do-over.
Yeah, I don't think you would have eaten much, though.
Nah, I probably wouldn't have.
Well, it was so hot, and the thing that freaked me out was that everyone up there, including Kelly and Jesse, were just beating sweat off their face.
Oh, yeah.
And I am, too, watching you guys. But you had no sweat on your head, so I thought something was wrong with you. Like, maybe he has heat stroke or something's going on where his body's in shock.
Buddy, never let him see you sweat.
Never let him see you cry, I think is what it is. But never let him see you sweat. Is that interchangeable?
Yeah. You want people to think that it's easy. You want people to think that you don't actually have a job or work for a living. That's what a lot of people. That's the people in my family. They still don't know what the fuck I do.
It's so easy. I don't even sweat when I work out.
That's right. Yeah. Last time I was here, I jumped in a class with Isak, messing around with those mace, those mace things, steel maces, and it was. He was like, I was trying to break you, but he's like, you just had a smile on your face the whole time. I was like, I'm too dumb to realize how bad it hurts.
Well, I'm sure the heaviest weight we had was still a pecker weight to you. So even though it was an odd training device, it probably wasn't that heavy.
He actually thought I was smart because I grabbed like a 10 or something. He was like, I was like, hey, man, I've been training for a long time, and I know that anything different is different. And you got to be careful.
First one I bought was the 7-pounder. I didn't realize the length was shorter, so that kind of messed with the mechanics a little bit. But
you like it longer.
7-pound. Do like it longer. There we go. Let's go right to the dick jokes. I was talking. I had Dr. Andy Gulpin out here after he was on your podcast.
That guy doesn't know shit.
Yeah, he knows nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
He's a doctor of what?
But I told him, I was like, man, I loved him on Rogan's, but the podcast he did on your Powercast with you and Jim McDonald was fucking fire. And I felt like I was sitting in the locker room just listening in on a bunch of guys dropping dick jokes to each other. And it made me miss you. I wanted to be in on that action for sure.
That's the environment that we have at the gym. It's always like that. Super training's like that.
It's like Donald Trump-ish, Matt Lauer-ish.
Yeah, with all the sexual harassment shit.
Kevin Spacey-ish.
Oh, my God. But not Bill Cosby. We're not going that far.
No one's getting drugged.
Yeah. But, with all the stuff we have going on at Super Training and at Slingshot, that is the environment. It's definitely a locker room environment. We try to just let everybody know, like, there's going to be profanity. There's going to be all kinds of rude, lewd, whatever stuff going on. Anybody has a problem with it, just say it, and we'll get it out in the open, and then we'll move on, So it just has that. You've been around it your whole life, being involved in sports. It's just the way it is, the way it goes.
Yeah.
Tons of farts, tons of dick jokes.
There's beauty in that, though. And I think that's, obviously there's a line, and there's There's quite a bit of banter going back and forth on Twitter on where that line should be and what we should or should not be able to say. And I think a lot of people that have experienced the beauty in being able to speak freely and fuck around with your friends and make fun of one another appropriately where nobody's getting hurt and all these little snowflakes aren't up in arms about it.
I think dicking around is a crucial thing. You have to have the ability just to be kind of messing around and throw shit on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, there's something that I've gotten quite a bit over the years is just that it's not that serious. Everyone takes life so fucking serious.
Yeah.
They take their workout so serious, like, not now, like that. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody fucking with me when I'm trying to PR on a deadlift or something like that. But,
right.
But, there's a time and a place to just loosen up and laugh and have a good time. And that shouldn't be taken from us because life's serious enough.
I think that's what people have enjoyed about super training, and that's what they've enjoyed about following along on the YouTube channel, is that the gym is that way. It is. It's meant to be fun. We don't have to do it. It's something that we got obsessed about, so now you feel like you have to do it. But it's something that we have an opportunity to do, and it's a lot of fun. And if you go in there with the mindset, you got your butthole all clenched and your fists all clenched, and you're trying to make it happen today, it doesn't work that way. Things take a long time. And if you're only 20 years old and you're listening to this podcast right now, 5 years seems like a really long time, but if you're 55 years old, 5 years isn't shit, right? So it's all about perspective, and I like to have a good time because that's how I'm able to have consistency. That's really what we're talking about. So if my squat is way off and I can only squat 315 for some reps or something like that, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to get upset about it and mad about it because it's just where I'm at for that period of time, and I'm doing this I've been doing this for 25 plus years. I'm just going to keep doing it, and there'll be times where I lift more, and there'll be times where I lift less. So why not have fun while you're doing it? We're all going to be in pain from it. We're all going to get fucked up from it, and why not just enjoy it while you can?
Yeah, people have this idea in their head that working out or busting your ass has to just beat you to shreds, and that it's not an enjoyable experience. But if you shift that culture into something where it's something you appreciate, and you're like, man, I can't fucking wait to get to the gym and see all the guys or all the girls and just have a good time and get strong and feel good.
Right.
Like that shifts how you approach it. It's not now I'm dragging my heels getting there. It's like, fuck, dude, this is going to be sick. We're doing deadlifts today, or we're doing kettlebells today, or whatever we're working on that day. It's awesome. Right.
Yeah. I think, I think people will view stuff as being difficult or view stuff as being hard, and they won't understand that that's where all the beautiful things come from, is when things are hard and when things are tough. Things are designed to be hard for a reason. And people want to try to take shortcuts a lot of times because that is the easier path. That is the path of least resistance. And it is what keeps you kind of doing the same thing day in and day out. I'll have people all the time, they'll say, hey, man, I'm really inspired by you. I really appreciate all the information that you put out. And they end it with this, which makes me want to just fucking punch them right in the face. Is they'll say, keep doing what you're doing. It's like, fuck no, man. I'm not going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing more than what I'm doing. I'm going to keep trying different things. I'm going to keep trying new things, because if I just keep doing what I'm doing, then I'm just going to keep getting to the same spot I've always been to.
Yeah, it's like doing missionary style every day for the rest of your life. Like you got to explore. You got to change it up.
That's right. You need a new stimulus, right? It's got to be something different. And so that's what I'm always looking at. But again, back to things being difficult. Things do need to be difficult for you to be great at something, but they don't need to start out being difficult. When you first start something, it can be easy. Exercise doesn't always have to be a war. It doesn't always have to be a battle. It can be that way. And when you develop some skill and you develop some strength and conditioning, then you can start to really get after it. But exercise doesn't have to be this difficult thing that has this huge barrier of entry. You can go for a walk. I mean, there's all kinds of different things you can do. You can do body weight exercises. A lot of times at my gym, when we're super training and Slingshot is all under one roof. And so when people are working, sometimes I'll pop in a couple of different people's office and say, hey, let's train. We get three of us together, 5 of us together, 6, 7, however many people want to join in for the day, and we'll start working out. it could be that we're doing lateral raises and biceps and just getting a bro pump going, and we'll finish off with some sled stuff, but it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, or sometimes it might turn into a longer session than that. I just tell people, don't even bother changing. We're not gonna go nuts. So just stay in what you're in, and let's just go have some fun for a little bit. No one ever regrets it. No one's ever like, oh fuck, man, I shouldn't have done that workout. I mean, occasionally, like if you go too hard, maybe, but the point is exercise does not have to be that difficult. You have to try to find something that you can consistently do. Don't view it as such a big barrier that you just put your hands up and fucking give up. People don't start out with diet and exercise right away. They kind of go for one thing or the other, and then the two things start to melt together as you progress, as you move forward. So you don't have to be like, oh man, I keto diet and I'm going to start training and I'm going to be in a caloric deficit. It's like, no, don't really. Let's keto diet. Start with one thing. Don't eat any fucking carbs. Cut them out for a little while. See how you respond to it. See how you feel from it. As you're doing that, research it. Try to learn more about it. As you go along, 2 weeks or a month, sometimes it takes 2 months just to even get into ketosis, just to get the hang of the diet. For some people, it might take longer or shorter. Then from there, if you want to make more progress, then maybe you start looking at some different exercises you can do, some sort of routine that you can do, some sort of strength training. But you don't have to out of nowhere just be like, oh yeah, I've been thinking about powerlifting. Oh, I've been thinking about the keto diet. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, you try both. And of course, it's going to be super hard for you to do. It's going to be super hard for you to adapt to multiple things at one time. I think as human beings, we adapt to stuff really quickly. You know, something new happens on your phone. There's a new app. There's a new device. And we're like, oh, cool. And we take it for granted. And it comes and it goes. And then there's another new thing. But it's when you introduce a lot of new stuff at one time, that's when you get fucked up. Mm-hmm. And so you need to just kind of think about one thing at a time. In your career in MMA, it's really hard to mix jiu-jitsu with striking and with all these different things. It's like, let's focus in on kind of one thing at a time. Let's get this one skill down. Okay, we're going to work on striking. That's a specific time period. Okay, we're going to work on jiu-jitsu. You're going to work on drills. After a certain period of time goes by, when your brain's not so retarded about what it's supposed to be doing, then you start to mesh everything together.
Yeah, you can always circle back and try to add in different tools. You know, you don't throw intermittent fasting in with an hour-long sauna session mixed with a max effort PR or 20 rep squat day.
Yeah, there's probably 12 or 15
together. You know,
probably 12 or 15 things you do every day for your health and fitness. I mean, maybe even more. And for somebody starting out, it's great to know some of that stuff, but you don't need to do it all right away. Just pick a thing.
You can think in like a week-long standpoint rather than a daily standpoint, you know, and if you're getting 2 or 3 heavy weight training workouts in or even body weight workouts, right, and you're getting outdoors, walking or hiking for a couple days a week, and then maybe you have some yoga practice or some type of stretching mobility work that you're using to retune and heal the body, you know, that's going to cover a lot of bases. That's your 80-20 rule for most people, right? Something you said when I was on your podcast that was great was how many people always ask you, like, Mark, what's the best way to train? Should I lift like a bodybuilder? Should I do CrossFit? Yeah. Should I powerlift? And you said the one that you'll fucking stick to. Yeah. Right? It's all good. It's all good. And there's what would we say in the car? Yeah. What's the best training?
Yeah, the best training is the training you're currently not doing. Yeah. If you're training for endurance and you go ham on all that, then your strength is probably going to be compromised. If you have a plan to lose a lot of weight, there's going to be other losses that are happening simultaneously, possibly a loss in strength, possibly a loss in overall energy. There's a lot of, every time you go to do something else has to give. That's just the way the world works that way.
Yeah, cycling through different training protocols and things like that has been excellent for me, working with, you know, Jesse Burdick and guys like you.
Our boy Jesse Burdick.
Yeah, man, just really getting to dive deep and see like how does this all intermesh together, right? You know, like how can we have a program that can tackle things from all sides? So we're really leaving like little gaps, little weak areas. You know, the blind spot gets shrunken down.
It's difficult, and it's a full-time. It ends up being kind of a full-time job, and that is on the other side of, hey, it doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be difficult. At some point, it will have to get harder for you to continue to make progress. If you're currently a 500-pound bencher and you want to bench 525, gaining those 25 pounds of strength is going to be harder than when you went from 405 to 425. The things that get you to a certain destination aren't going to be the same things that get you to the next destination. Said by Albert Einstein, by the way. He said it differently than that because he's a lot smarter than me, I think. But that it's true. You know, you have to do different stuff. You can't just always be doing the exact same thing. And even when it comes to strength training, people will think that they have to lift maximally all the time. Well, that's one way to get really great results. It's also a great way to get hurt. You know, so
or burned out.
You're burned like, out.
Fuck it, man.
For some people, it could last a long time where that's effective. And you see this true with any sport where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's working for that guy. But sure enough, it might work for somebody for their entire career. There's anomalies. There's different people that have different gifts for whatever reason. But continuously lifting heavy week in and week out with no regard to what's coming next is foolish, and it will paint you into a corner at some point. And so there does have to be some sort of method to the madness. And some people are smart about it where they'll just, maybe one week they go heavy, and the next week they do rep work. It could be that simple. Like one week they do a max single, the next week they're like, okay, I'm going to do something for a heavy set of 8. It's still heavy, it's still taxing, it's still a lot on your body, but the stimulus is a lot different when you're lifting 405 for 8 versus trying to lift 500 for 1. It's way different.
Yeah, you're talking about, you know, different pathways as well. One's going to be slamming the central nervous system on a max effort day, and then maybe taking a little heat off the central nervous system, but working more on the muscle, a lot more soreness and breakdown.
Absolutely.
On an 8 rep day, right? But all of it's fucking important.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people right now that are, you know, the way it was explained to me a long time ago is that if you think about recovery being a giant sink, right? And water that is coming from the faucet, kind of representing your workload. A lot of times that faucet and that water is coming in faster than we can get rid of it. The drain isn't big enough. But I think a lot of people don't understand that you can make that drain a lot bigger by introducing different things, different rest protocols, higher frequency. And so what you're seeing now, and the reason why powerlifters have gotten so strong in the last, it's only been about 3 years or so, last 4 years, where the records have really gone fucking bonkers. They've gone absolutely insane. And people are going from, people that are in drug-tested federations are beating the records of people that are non-drug-tested federations. And really, you know, who knows what the fuck that really truly means, because it's hard to say whether someone's actually natural or not. I don't really know. But I would imagine all the people that broke the records, at least some of them are probably natural, or at least more natural than the guys that broke the records previously. Anyway, my point is that you can increase your ability to recover, and one way to increase your ability to recover is to do stuff more often, because your body will adapt to it. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to what I said originally, you can't introduce a bunch of shit at the same time. It's got to be kind of one thing at a time. So what's happening is some people are getting these tremendous gains from increasing their frequency. They'll squat 3 times a week, or they'll squat 4 times a week. Meanwhile, a lot of the people that are chasing after these great lifters, they will increase the weight that they're using. They'll increase their frequency, and they're trying to do any and everything they can. A few people are getting through, and a few people are gaining, you know, tremendous amounts of strength. But for the most part, people are getting hurt because they're meshing too many things together. Everything can't be high all the time. Mm-hmm. I know you want to be high all the time, but you can't be high all the time. There's going to be a time where you're going to have to function in a normal fashion there, Kyle.
That's right.
But you know, if the intensity is high and the volume is high and the frequency is high, shit's gonna get nasty real quick, because then the whole point of increasing the frequency and increasing and maybe even having less rest intervals and things like that, the whole point of that is to increase your ability to recover from those workouts. And we know the workout is only as good as your recovery from it.
Yeah, when Paulchek was in here last week, he was talking about a famous quote from Charlie Francis that I'd heard, Ben Johnson's old coach.
Yeah.
He said, if you're not improving 1 to 3% every time you step in the gym, you got no fucking business being there.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
So that just goes into, it's different for everyone. Some guys, and you can see this on genetic reports like DNA Fit from the UK, they'll tell you, like, if you're shitty at recovery, you might need 3 or 4 days between heavy lifts.
Right.
Whereas if you're a fast recoverer and you produce a lot of glutathione and things like that, you might be able to get in there every day or every other day and go full go.
Right.
You know, so but paying attention to that, listening to your body and figuring that out, that's free.
Right.
You know, you don't have to fucking, spend $400 on a genetic test to figure that out if you just pay attention.
No, that's crucial. And then just, if you are shitty in those areas, then you're going to have to figure out you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of figuring out how to get a little bit better in some of those areas. Even if it's not what's going to work best for you going into a competition, it is something that you'll have to figure out, because if you're not fit and you're not in shape, that will be a hole in your game somewhere. Nobody wants to have to stop prematurely. Nobody wants to have to have their career ended by something other than they're just like, hey, I did the best I could, and I think that's the end of the road. But for most of us, it doesn't end that way. It usually ends with something horrific happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that brings up a great point. I remember you talking with Dr. Andy Galpin on the Powercast about that, how a base level of cardio is necessary just for recovery. And not only for that, but because oxygen helps shuttle metabolic waste out of the body. It's what's going to help us improve our workout. One of the things they talk about in high-level training is post-exercise oxygen consumption.
Yeah.
And that's what's necessary to bring you back to baseline. How much oxygen do you need to consume to shuttle all that waste out of the body?
Right.
Well, if you improve respiratory and cardio function, then your body's going to be better at shuttling that waste out. You're going to be better at recovering.
Right. And it doesn't take a lot. From a powerlifting standpoint, how much mobility do you really need? You need a little bit, just like any other sport, you need a little bit more than what's required of you. How much more? I mean, it's highly debatable, but if I was just after injury prevention, I would say 5 or 10% more range of motion than what you're called upon to do in the competition would suffice for a very long period of time. There might be periods of time where you got to focus in on it a little bit more if an injury does arise or something like that. But I think that would be enough. And then how much cardio would you need? I think you can do one HIIT training session a week, and you can do one long duration training session a week, and some supersetting during your normal workouts and stuff. I think you're good to go. So it's not like it has to be some crazy high demand. It's not MMA. It's not CrossFit or anything like that. It's powerlifting, and you need to have some sort of baseline to be able to recover from those workouts. But what you'll recognize just in life in general, this is like, just take the shit outside the gym. The more that you can handle, the more that you can handle. The more that you do, the more that you can do. The more that you do, the more that you can become. And so if you mentioned this yesterday, I thought it was really intuitive and really smart, especially because your son's only 2 years old. This is a really good thing to notice as a dad. You're like, the amount of time, the amount of energy I put into work, I have to make sure I'm rested and stuff, and I have to make sure, I'm trying to get home at a certain time so that when I come home, I'm not like just a piece of shit for my family. I need to be there for them, and my son's 2, and he's got an engine that won't quit, right?
Yeah.
And you need to be able to be a dad. You can't just be like, oh man, and just on your phone or whatever. That's all he's going to understand is that you're too busy for him. That you're too tired. That's all he's going to see. And so those things are really important to recognize. In the gym, it's the same thing. The gym shouldn't be crushing you so bad that you have nothing left for anything else. It doesn't really make any sense because, again, you're probably not recovering from your workouts the way that you should. I hear so many people talking about all these different aspects of strength training all the time, and they kind of just, I don't know, they just nix all the little basics, food.
Yeah.
Food, sleep.
Yeah.
And then also your actual program is crucial. Like if we're talking about 75 different things for recovery, but we're not talking about what you're actually doing, then we're being stupid. What you're actually doing is responsible for fucking you up in the first place, and we're ignoring that. And then we're trying to tell you to go put ice on it or go in an ice bath or whatever. Those things are highly effective and they do work. But how about you just stop training like an asshole?
Yeah, fish oil works great, but it's not going to mitigate inflammation if you're cramming down fucking donuts and nasty, simple sugars constantly throughout the day. You got systemic inflammation at an 11 out of 10.
Are you talking to me?
Fish oil drops you to an 8.
I feel like you're really.
I'm looking right at you,
Yeah,
Mark.
I feel like you're really.
Looking right. I'm looking through into your soul right now.
Yeah.
No, you've shifted. Let's talk about that because our boy Jesse Burdick sent me this glorious picture of your face that looked like
Was
the
it
moon
the
had
off the
eyes.
team face?
Let me fucking pull it up. I'll see if I can show it to the camera here.
Oh my god!
But yeah.
By the way, when I was super fat like that, I still kept
still
in
strong as fuck.
Well, I was strong, but I still kept in some level.
See if we can get that on the camera
fitness.
There's our boy. There's our boy. Yeah, that's a glorious pic.
Oh, you're off. You're off the team face. The legendary. So there's a story to that picture. So I'm glad Jesse sent that. I'm traveled with Jesse Burdick. He and I did a lot of seminars around the country. We started doing seminars for CrossFit, and we were doing powerlifting certification courses for them. Jesse and I would always fuck around the entire time. We were traveling, always messing with each other and stuff. So
dick dabbling,
a lot of dick dabbling. We get to the hotel room, and he just like sprawls out on he just takes everything off. Second he walks in, he did this every time. He just take everything off, sprawls out on the bed. He's like, just totally laid out in like a star position, hands and legs. Just going everywhere. I'm like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It's like scratching his nuts and everything else. just in his boxers. That's and a pair of socks, of course.
One ball hanging out of the bottom of the boxers.
To add to the sexiness. And I'm like, this is the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever seen. And I'm on the other bed, and I'm like on my elbows, like I'm face down, right? And I have my phone with me, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this motherfucker. I'm gonna take a picture, and I'm just gonna post it right away without even saying anything. So I go to take a picture, and I'm like lining it up, and just as I go to take a picture, it's in selfie mode, and I snapped that beautiful picture right there. And then I started laughing. He's like, "Oh my god, what are you laughing about?" And then so I sent him the picture while he's laying in the other bed, and he fucking fell off the bed. He was like, "Holy shit!" He's like, "That is the fattest fucking face I've ever seen in my life." So that's where that fat face picture came from.
I love it. So one of the things that people, in powerlifting or other sports, like we had Matt Vincent out here talking about the Highland Games and things like that, is strength at all costs.
Yeah.
Get as big as I fucking can, as strong as I can, and I won't worry about longevity, health, or kind of how I feel when I sleep at night, how I feel when I'm walking or picking up my kid. And so they kind of leave. They can. This isn't everybody. Guys like Jeremy Avila are fucking just shredded, jacked to the gills.
Yeah.
But there's this other piece, you know, and as you turn the corner and you've fucking lifted crazy weight, 1,080 pound squat, right?
Yep.
Shit like that, and you get to a point where you're like, maybe I don't need to weigh this much anymore.
Right.
So you've kind of switched direction. I mean, you're fucking shredded, jacked and tanned, looking great, brother. Yep. And what really got you into going into ketosis and really trying to shift that?
So to back the whole story up a little bit, when I was a kid, I was probably about 16 or so, and I was playing football. And I remember, when I was about 15 or so, or 14, somewhere in that age, I was around 200 pounds. I was a pretty big kid, and I wanted to be bigger for football. So I started eating cereal and pasta, and I started doing all this stuff. Well, I got up to 240 pounds, and at one point I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I'm like wrecking people on the football field, but I'm fucking fat. Like, how am I supposed to get any chicks this way? This isn't gonna pan out so well, And I was strong and stuff, and I was already into training and all that stuff, but I just wasn't eating properly, so I was gaining a lot of fat. And so I decided I wanted to go into a powerlifting meet. And when I went into a powerlifting meet, I wanted to try to drop weight, and I wanted to try to get into the 220 pound weight class. And so I was reading up about bodybuilding diets, and I was like, okay, I'll just cut out all the fat, and I'll keep the carbs high. I'll eat chicken breasts and rice and all these things, right? Yeah. That's what I thought would work. And I was losing a little bit of weight because it was just a pure calorie deficit, and I was exercising quite a bit. But my performance in the gym was not great. And I talked to my brother about it. My brother was in California at the time, and he said, hey, I'm training out here in Gold's Gym, and my powerlifting coach out here, he said, he's got me on this diet where, I don't really eat a lot of carbs and stuff. And he was like, get a pen, and and write this down. I was like, okay. And so I get a pen, and he's like, here's your diet. He goes, red meat and water. And he's like, and if you're really dying, you can have an apple. And I was like, okay. So that was kind of the start of the ketogenic diet for me. I lost a bunch of weight, went to the competition, performed really well. I carved back up, of course, for the contest itself. I did really well, and then used the ketogenic diet on and off from that time period, which was probably like the mid-90s.
Okay.
And I used it several times, even just in high school, just to like be in better shape. I used it. Used it a bunch of times to just to get leaner or to fit into a certain weight class with powerlifting. As I got older, I would use it here and there, again, to fit into certain weight classes and stuff like that. But I was in a competition, and I was trying for, like, I think a 2,700 pound total. And I was hoping to, bench over 800 pounds. I was hoping to squat about 1,100 and then deadlift whatever the hell I had to deadlift to get to that 2,700 pound mark. So I start the contest out with 1,036 squat. Smashed it. It felt lighter than ever. My squat felt really good. And the next weight was 1,085, and then the next one after that was going to be like 1,115 or something like that. And as I was getting ready for this 1,085 squat, I gained some weight going into this competition, and this is in powerlifting gear, the squat suit and briefs and all these different things. And tremendous amounts of compression are going on. These things are tight, and I'm fucking fat and super, super bloated, And my leg starts my leg's getting pretty numb. And I'm like, oh man, like, that's weird. My leg is like almost falling asleep, Mm-hmm. But hey, we're in competition, right? And I got some fucking goals to go after. So I'm trying to ignore it. I'm trying to shake it off, get in different positions. There's really nowhere to hide when you're in these suits. It's hard to explain, but they're incredibly uncomfortable. And I couldn't really shake that feeling in my leg out. It wasn't like it was totally asleep, but it was fucked up. And I was like, all right, well, here comes my attempt. So then we put knee wraps on, which makes it 10 times worse. The right leg's just not feeling right. I go up to the platform and on rack 1,085. Still doesn't feel right. Had an opportunity to put it back in the rack. Still didn't do it. Still trying to get after it. I start going down the squat. And because I don't have control of that right leg, it just pivots inward. And it shoots inward. And my other leg kind of shoots outward. Nothing broke or snapped, or at least I don't think it did. But I hit the monolift with my knee. The weight went flying off my back. Luckily for me, the 1,085 weight that was on my back, I got unloaded from it really quickly because I got compressed, I got shrunk down, and I'm in like a squat position. And then in a blink of an eye, boom, I'm on the ground. I'm just like on all fours, and the weight went behind me, and luckily it didn't land on anybody, and luckily nobody got really fucked up except for me. And there was 6 or 7 spotters. The platform's loaded with spotters, but nobody's stopping that freight train. That weight's coming down fast. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And that's kind of the famous video that's online. It's if you look up the powerlifting mentality, that's the fuck you and fuck your elbow video, where I talk about how my training partner came over to like help me up off the ground, and I said, "Fuck you, get away from me. I'm gonna walk off on my own power." And I did, but I was fucking dying.
Fuck you for trying to help me up.
Yeah. Exactly. I got too much damn pride. And so my legs immediately start swelling up. I've had all kinds of problems and shit like that for months, really. It took me 45 minutes to go from my recliner to my pull-out bed that we had in the other room because I couldn't go up the stairs to our bedroom just because I was in so much pain. Ankles were super, super swollen. Knees were swollen. I never did end up going to a doctor because I was like, what are they going to tell me that I don't already know? I'm fucked up. I was probably fucked up before I ever tried that squat. Mm-hmm. And intentionally, sometimes when you do go to a doctor, you do go for some help, you go to somebody that you feel is going to give you the answer you're looking for. And so I went to a buddy of mine who does like acupuncture and stuff. And he was like, you know what? I think you're going to be okay. I think you're fine. He's like, and he's like, if you were to get an MRI, he's like, what would they compare it to? Do you have a previous MRI? I was like, no. He's like, they're just going to tell you you're fucked up. I was like, that's what I was thinking. He's like, if it doesn't improve every day, then there's a problem. But if the swelling continues to go down and that's when I'm kind of learning about a lot of this compression type stuff from Starrett. I'm using the Voodoo Floss band from him and Jesse Burdick. They're teaching me about all this stuff. And I remember my daughter coming over and she's like looking at my ankle and she's like, oh my God, it's less swollen than it was before. Like just, she's however old at the time, 7 or something. But she's able to identify like, oh, that band you wrapped around your foot's probably working. And so I kept doing stuff like that on and off, and I did end up eventually recovering from all this. But what happened is that it ended up giving me a lot of perspective. And perspective, in my opinion, is really crucial towards empathy, towards understanding what other people are trying to do, to understanding where people are in their lives. And for me, I was like, you know what? I love powerlifting. I love being strong. But I got to have more. I got to have more to me than just that, Like I'm kind of almost like a question to myself, like, do you have more to offer than just that? And I was like, fuck yeah. I have a lot of good qualities that I could offer the world, and I don't need to just lift fucking heavy ass weight all the time and compromise myself, compromise my own health. Because as you go down this rabbit hole of competition, it's kind of all you think about day and night. Mm-hmm. You're so passionate about it that you block out everything else. And it's sometimes hard for other people to understand. Like, fuck, man, that's kind of dumb. Well, yeah, looking back on it, some of it was kind of, I don't regret any of it because it was great. But it's just part of your identity. And for me, it was too much a part of my identity. And I got lost. And I was just... I was lost in many different ways, not just with the training, but other shit was fucked up too. My mindset in general. So it was a good pivot point. It was a good time to pivot. It was a good low, having lifting taken away from you for a while fucking sucks. And in this case, it wasn't like I could go to the gym and bench and stuff. I couldn't move. I was immobile basically. I could get around, whatever way I could, and it was a pretty tough time. Anyway, from that point, I was like, okay, well, you can't be big and strong, so might as well shrink down. And so that's when I started messing around with the ketogenic style diet a little bit more. The first thing that I did is I looked at Rob Wolf's Paleo Solution, because I knew I didn't want to try to just jump into something and fail. I remembered the ketogenic diet from when I was younger. And I knew it was always effective and it always worked for me. But I was like, I don't want to just not eat carbs out of nowhere. That's probably not going to be great. Going from eating like shit to just all of a sudden pulling all my carbs away, I thought I'd probably fail. So I was like, this looks like a pretty good solution. The Paleo Solution by Rob Wolf. That's why I started to mess around with that diet. And I started to get some of that down. And basically it was just meat, some potatoes here and there, rice, vegetables, stuff like that. Real simple. And as I was going through that process, I was like, okay, I lost, 30 pounds. I was 330. I got down to about 300. I was like, I could probably make a commitment now, to going back on a keto diet, learning more about that. Started investigating some of the information from John Kiefer. The whole time, Burdick is helping me because he's super knowledgeable. And I continued to lose weight, got down to about 260. And then... I started training again. My strength started to come back up. And what happens again, I kind of fall into a similar pitfall, but this time around it was a little different. My goal was to bench 600 pounds. I went into a competition and benched 578, which was like a 40-pound contest PR for me. And I did get hurt on the last lift, but it was just a slight pec strain with 600, so I didn't get to 600. But an important note there is that a lot of times the goals that we set for ourselves are myths. I think we think that we're going to set this goal, and then I'm going to get this goal, and then after that, then I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to go after a different goal. But what happens is it's never enough.
Yeah.
I never set out to be a millionaire. I never set out to bench press 854. But when I benched 804, it wasn't enough. When I squatted 1,000, I set out to squat 1,000 pounds. I squatted 1,000 pounds. I thought I checked it off the list, but I didn't, and I wanted 1,100 pounds. And so that's what happens with your goals. I think people need to, it's still important to set goals here and there. And I think that it's even more important that your goals are like your goals are much less than they are like this great big huge thing that you're going after. I think your goal could be, for me, I make my goals really simple so that way I can accomplish them and I can check them off the list. It's almost like a to-do list rather than a goal. It could be something like getting a haircut. It could be something so simple, just some low-hanging fruit that can give you momentum and make you feel better than you did the day before. Or general stuff like, okay, I'm going to get a cardio session in today. I'm going to get a lifting session in today. Just something easy, something that you can do, something that's not like this monumental feat of strength. But I think more importantly than goals, I think people need to understand that they need to dick around because it takes a long time to be good at anything. And on top of that, if you're trying to be great at something, that's something that can't be forced, that can't be bought, and that takes not only an enormous amount of time, but it also takes all of your energy. And while you're focusing in on being great in one area, what's happening with the other shit in your life? Yeah. There's shit in your life, the wheels might be falling off. So it's a difficult balance. It's a difficult battle. But just understand that anybody who's ever been good at anything, they spent the first couple years around just dabbling in it, just messing around with it for a while. Well, we called it dick dabbling yesterday.
Dick dabbling
is what we ended up.
Couple years of dick dabbling. That's how you get to the top.
Yeah, it's important to kind of have those time periods. But even with the ketogenic diet, it took me a long time to learn the diet. You don't just learn it from a book. You can learn it from a book. There's great information out there from many different people. Mark Sisson, Rob Wolf. There's a lot of great books on a ketogenic style diet. But you're only going to learn what you're going to learn from the book, and that's it. And what trumps all that is experience. Having experience, having actually done it, having actually gone through it, then you start to learn the pitfalls, as you have done with the ketogenic diet as well.
Yeah, it definitely takes trial and error. A lot of people get into that and they're like, fuck, I've been doing this for 3 weeks and I don't feel different. My energy's tanked.
I hear people say stuff like that all the time.
And it's like, well, that's the fine tuning. Now maybe let's look at, where the carbs are at. Have you really paid attention to getting them underneath 50 grams a day? Have you, are you eating fucking a slab of meat at night? Is that going to kick you out of ketosis? And, just like I said, like with you and with guys like Burdick and people that carry a lot of muscle and they're lifting weights frequently, you probably don't need to eat under 80 grams of protein, right? You can still, because your body's going to be using that.
Carbs,
no, I'm saying protein.
Oh,
protein for that.
Oh, you can still eat a lot of protein.
Yeah. Too high protein will kick you out of ketosis as well, right? But a fucking big dude who's lifting often, he's going to utilize that more, or if somebody's really just focusing on this diet first and going for walks and doing some body weight exercise, they probably need to get that protein down. Right. If they're looking at if everything else is good, that may be the one missing piece. But that just takes fucking fine tuning.
It takes some time to learn it. And I think, what are we talking about too? If we're just talking about weight loss, how important is actual nutritional ketosis? It does factor in there, but I don't think it's the most important thing. I think the most important thing is that you have sustainable energy, and that you feel okay, and that you continue to lose weight. And the way that you do that is you weigh yourself every day, and you should, over a course of time, you should weigh less. And I think that's where people get caught up with this, these kind of finer points, and it can be very effective, where you do measure your ketones often, and you do try to keep yourself in nutritional ketosis, because it is kind of keeping yourself in check, and that can be important, but it's not the most important thing all the time. If we're talking about getting other benefits of the ketogenic diet, then I think that's when we need to try to make sure that everything's lined up so that we are in ketosis. Or if you have a disease, or you're diabetic, or some of these other things, that's when it becomes more important. But like for me, if I'm losing weight and I'm getting leaner and I'm starting to see abs, I don't really give a fuck how many ketones I'm producing. I don't really care. And if I feel good, like, do I legitimately feel good, or am I feeling like shit? Like, trying to measure some of that out is important. So I think people get really caught up with the keto thing, and they get really caught up. And then some people don't even know much about it. They just think all low carb diets are a keto diet.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily true. I do think what I've learned from doing a ketogenic diet, and it's different when you've been doing it for a while, I should say that just as kind of a blanket statement, because when you've been doing it for a while, there's more things you can get away with.
Yeah, your body's well adapted to using fat. It's metabolically shifted before It's not the first. It's not its first rodeo. At fucking not using carbs for fuel.
Yeah, your body starts to kind of get used to some of the tricks that you're throwing at it, But with the diet, I think that people they get so caught up in what is it, how much protein, how much fat. Just do yourself a favor and simplify it. Cut out your carbohydrates and just start from there. Just try to keep them under 30, under 50, somewhere in that range per day. The other thing that I noticed a lot of people do is they get caught up with a calorie deficit, and they get caught up with intermittent fasting. They try to implement too many things at one time. Again, just focus in on the foods first. Maybe skipping breakfast isn't a great idea in the beginning, because maybe just getting used to the food is the most important thing, and trying to tackle the hunger thing is something that you should be probably looking into later down the road, 2-3 weeks down the road, when you're like, shit, my progress has stopped.
Yeah, it's much easier to fast as well once you're in a state of nutritional ketosis.
Right.
You're like, I'm not a fucking slave to food. I don't need to eat every 3 hours.
Right.
I feel good skipping breakfast or just having a little coffee.
You're right.
Then I'll eat like a high-fat lunch and a shake, and then I'll have a big meal at night, with loaded greens, some meat, and a lot of fat.
I think that's a huge advantage of a ketogenic style diet, is that it's the only diet that helps with that. It's the only diet that really helps with your cravings. For people listening right now that really, have a sweet tooth and stuff, a ketogenic style diet will annihilate a sweet tooth. And it's really, really beneficial for people that like snacks in general. It could be salty, crunchy stuff, or it could be candy or ice cream or any of that kind of stuff. It just helps eliminate the junk that you're getting so addicted to all the time. One of the few diets that really helps manage that. And then also the fasting side of it. Like I thought fasting was bullshit. How about you? I mean, did you kind of, when you first started to hear about fasting,
I was like, I'm going to fucking lose muscle. All
like,
this shit's going to happen.
Stupid.
And then the more science that came out, I was like, oh shit. Like there's a direct response from the body to counter that. There's an anti-catabolic response from the body to shift into far higher growth hormone levels at night, far higher testosterone in the morning to prevent muscle loss. And you think about our ancestors who didn't have grocery stores and didn't have refrigeration.
Right.
Like we went without food frequently. And in that period, if we lost fucking muscle, you're not going to finish off a 2-week fast and be successful on a hunt.
Yeah, we're pretty fragile.
Yeah. But when we act in ways that are similar to our ancestors, and you don't have to call that paleo or fucking Neanderthal or any shit. Yeah. All you got to say is we do it in a way where we live in harmony with the earth, where we try to implement some things we might have done that our predecessors did. Maybe we expose ourselves to extreme temperatures, like hot in the summer and cold in the winter. And maybe we spend a period in winter where we don't have as many carbs because they just weren't available then. We didn't have shipping containers bringing in shit from Panama, right?
Yeah, you just grab a whole giant thing of almonds. You ever try to get an almond out of a shell? It's fucking impossible.
Yeah, fucking walnuts, they're a total pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Just to get one walnut. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, how many are you going to eat? Back then when you had to figure out a way to get it out of its fucking shell, you're going to eat like 5 of them.
There's a lot of work to get those
and you're going to be fucking pissed,
Yeah.
Just throw it all up in the air after a while.
Fuck this. I'll find a different food source.
Exactly.
Something easier. Something I can peel instead of crack.
But the ketogenic diet's been something that's always worked for me, and so that's why I talk about it often. I have a book coming out about it, The War on Carbs. You guys heard me talk about it many times over. I'm passionate about it because it's helped me, and then I'm passionate about it because the information that I've shared has helped a lot of other people. I have people that tell me all the time they've lost 30 pounds and 50 pounds and 100 pounds, and it's crazy. But the information what people's beliefs are so much different than what reality is. People think that you have to have carbohydrates, and they think these certain things, these things that they think are concrete. But their beliefs can change. Your beliefs can change. The things that you're thinking, I was just telling you, I thought intermittent fasting was bullshit. Then I tried it, and I'm like, oh, fuck, it works. Your beliefs can change. Seeing is believing. When you actually start to try something is going to be something that's a key factor for you. So you got to give stuff a shot, but give it an honest try. If you try a supplement from Onnit, you can't try it for a day and be like, give me a break, man. What are these guys selling? You gotta give it a chance. You got to give it some time. Maybe you have to mess around with the dosing. Maybe you have to take more than 1 capsule. Maybe you got to take 2. Maybe you have to take it for a month. These things, they're always gonna. It's the worst message ever, but everything's just gonna take time.
Yeah, everyone wants it now, right now. Give it to me fucking now.
And I get it. I understand it. Part of running a business is the understanding of that. It takes me, I'll see something and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to work on making that. I'll be talking about this for the next year, maybe longer, depending on what it is. And true creativity takes a long time. People that are creative, they don't wear a watch. They don't run on a schedule. I'm consistently late to everything all the time, and it's not because I want to be. I could do a better job of it, but if something hits me that I want to get to, I'm fucking getting to it because it's important to me, and I know that it will help. It'll help in some other areas at some point. So I need to fucking write it down. I need to work on it at that very moment. Creativity is not going to just hit me when I sit down. I'm like, okay, time to think of something cool. It doesn't really. It doesn't work that way. I'll see something, or I'll, be taking a shit, or I'll be on one of my walks. And again, back to the dicking around theory. Sometimes it's joking around with your friends, and you're like, oh shit, that would be, all these rappers and stuff. Their most creative lines have to come from when they're just fucking around with their buddies. Mm-hmm. Ass so fat, let's make a baby. That can only come from you fucking around with one of your buddies when you see a chick's butt, right? And so I think that creativity is something that takes a long period of time. Greatness is something that takes a long period of time. And also, even within all that stuff, greatness is not it's not a real thing. It's made up by everybody else. Somebody puts a ball in a hoop and everybody gets all excited. Why is that guy greater than my dad? My dad's the greatest person I ever met. He's the most inspirational person to me. He provides a lot of value to me. So to me, he's great. So what are you trying to be great for? Who are you trying to be great to? If you're not great to the people that are in your household, then you're a fucking asshole, in my opinion. And so I think that, with everything moving so fast and all the social media and stuff that we see all the time, it's easy to get caught up in that. How many likes you got and who said this. And we always focus on the negative comment. The one guy who's like, hey, you're always focused on that. Meanwhile, there was 100 other people that were super excited about whatever it is you did.
Yeah. I think you touched on a great thing there that we both talked about with Dr. Onnit Galpin was how you create that space. It's important to have a little time each day to unplug. And a lot of that wonderful muse for creativity and the insight and inspiration, it doesn't happen when you're digesting and processing this podcast or, the TV screen or a movie, or you're listening to your favorite song. It happens in the in-between moments. It happens between the beat, when you're taking a shit, when you're driving with no music on, when you're just farting around, shooting the shit with your friends.
Yeah.
That's when you get inspired. That's when you get that aha moment and you think, oh, fuck, this is something cool we can create and do.
What's interesting about listening to a podcast or even sometimes music, sometimes you, at some point, I don't know how it happens or why it happens, but you just completely shut it off, even though it's still playing and it's still just as loud as it was before. You just start thinking something that you say spawns a thought, or something that, you're listening to Joe Rogan, something he says spawns a different thought. And next thing you know, your brain's way the fuck over here thinking about that. But even those moments, it's a good time to pause whatever the fuck it is you're doing, stop listening to it, and start listening to whatever's going on in your head and follow that. Some of the intuition, we all have creativity. A lot of people feel that everyone kind of has their place at the top, and I don't believe so. I don't think it works that way. I think that some people enjoy being lazy, and some people enjoy spinning their tires and being in the same. It's like being complacent. But I do feel that everyone does possess at least some similarities when it comes to being creative or being a quote unquote genius. I think a lot of us have that inside of us, but we don't really a lot of us don't ever tap into it. There's been some research to show that Olympic gold medalists use something crazy, 30% of their brain, whereas everybody else only uses 5 or 10% of their brain. And so being able to tap into that other side obviously has a lot of value for us. How do we do it? It's by paying attention, by being mindful, by understanding what your body is trying to do, rather than just being in this rat race every single day. People are living with anxiety. People are living with depression. People are living with this stuff, and they just think it's normal. But they're not feeding themselves properly. They're not sleeping properly. They're not treating themselves properly. everyone, regardless of how athletic or how unathletic you are, everyone should be treating themselves like they're a professional athlete in some way. Everybody should be kind of pampering themselves with figuring out ways of recovering, maybe not from some treacherous workout, but just recovering from their life, recovering from everyday work, being unplugged, being unplugged a little bit, meditate. I don't meditate often, but I try to do it here and there. It's effective. Just even meditation aside, even if you think that's weird, just how about you just slow the fuck down for a second?
Yeah.
Just slow down. Just fucking get in a hot tub or something, or just wherever you can go and be by yourself for a little bit, just slow the fuck down. It could be 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be. It's not asking for like this really long period of time that you need to like be in this crazy deep thought. And some people like to take that further than others. Some people like to do mushrooms and run around the woods naked and chase after bears.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
And I think if we all had the opportunity to do it, we would do it, right? But everyone's going to take those kind of things to different levels. But the point is it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be hard. It's something that everybody can do, and it's something that will help you tap into just being more mindful, using your mind a little bit more, using your body a little bit more, using your spirit a little bit more. How do we tap into any of this if we're just going so fast and going so hard every single day?
Yeah, we got to listen,
right?
And we got to pay more attention of what's going on inside. Just how it's not just a physical attention, like it's fairly easy to teach an athlete how to pay attention to his body. Like, where are we at today? Without using an Oura ring or any of these activity trackers and sleep monitors and all this shit. Like, if you're really paying attention, you can figure out like, hey, I slept great last night. Right. My body feels good. Like, I can push it hard today in the gym. Or, man, I fucking went to bed and was tossing and turning the whole night. I feel like shit. My heart was racing when I woke up. Maybe it's a better day to fucking go to the beach or just go for a walk in nature. Those kind of things. But that same physical aspect of mindfulness and paying attention to what's going on inside can be extrapolated to our emotional state, our mental state. Like, hey, do I have a fucking scatterbrain right now? Let's slow down. Let's get quiet. Let's draw that in. Let's kind of shift that consciousness away from the high beta state, fucking go, to
yeah.
Let's relax. It's not all that serious. Let's
relax. I think if you were to take, if you were talking to a bunch of first or second grade kids, and you asked them, and you said, "Hey, who in here feels they're original? Who in here feels they have original ideas?" I bet you'd see a lot of hands go up. If you ask that to a bunch of adults, there'd be probably a couple of people just barely, it'd be a little bit more scarce. And I think that something happens along the way. When you're a little kid, people tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that. Hey, Kyle, you can't punch another kid in the face. You're like, fuck you, I'm going to do it for a living. Of course I can punch him in the face. I'm going to get paid for it one day, and it's going to be awesome. Everybody's going to love it. But I think, people are they're going to tell you what's right and what's wrong over and over again. And there's some people that have the ability to kind of tune some of that out. There's some people that hang on for long enough. Maybe they have enough. For myself, it's always been I had enough love in my life. I have two great parents. There's a lot of love in our household, and I met a great woman. My wife Andy is amazing.
She is amazing.
Children are fucking awesome. Like I have it. I have it really good. And so for me, it allows me to not get caught up and not get bogged down with a bunch of bullshit. But I think that people's creativity gets sucked out of them at some point. They're at a low. They start to listen to everything that people say. The Slingshot was a bad idea. Power Magazine was a bad idea. The podcast was a bad idea. A free gym was a bad idea. I'm like, I know. Until I knew, until I knew that it was the right thing to do. When I heard enough people that I thought were like, to me, after a while, I was like, the fuck do these people know? But it took me a long time to get there. It took me a long time to be strong enough to question what these people were saying. I shopped the Slingshot around to other companies. Other companies had an opportunity to be part of. I've sold probably 750,000 Slingshots.
Slanging.
So I think we're approaching about 1 million Slingshots sold since the infancy of the company. But when I shop the idea around, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, it's supportive. It's for, it would be like for bench press. And I said, well, bench press is kind of similar to push-ups, so maybe it would help with that too. Maybe it helps with kind of a bunch of pressing motions. Maybe it even helps with like dips or something. I was like, I don't know, incline dumbbell bench or something. Just kind of like, I didn't have a concept down yet, So I played around with a lot of different ideas. But before I ever played around with these ideas, my idea was shot down, over and over again. And at a certain point, it kind of just depends on where you are in your life. But again, back to me being fortunate, having a lot of love in my family, and also, aside from being fortunate, just me recognizing that I have that. Some people don't recognize how good they have it. Some people have some great things in their life, and they're focused in on all this other bullshit that's going on. Be good to those people that are good to you and do nothing else is a motto I live by that I learned from Ed Cohn, the greatest powerlifter of all time. That's some fucking wisdom for you, because if you think about that, that's really hard to do. Think about just, okay, who's good to me? Okay, my wife's really good to me. All right, my dad's, and then you think about all these people that try to pull you in different directions and tell you that you suck at something. And your first thing is like, okay, they threw a punch at me. I'm fucking throwing a combo at them and I'm knocking them the fuck out. That's what you're thinking. But you're like, that's a complete waste of time. That's a complete waste of energy. Why don't I put those combos into something else? Why don't I put that energy, focus that energy into something different? Focus that energy into something positive, something that can move me forward. And so for me, I was strong enough to kind of hang on for long enough to where I was like, fuck that, man. This is a good idea. And then a lot of times for people, a tragedy will happen. Something will happen that sparks or spawns an idea or just spawns them to fucking get off their ass and go. And for me, that was the death of my brother. My brother passed away. I got a phone call. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was kind of weird how vividly I remember it. But I just got home from the gym. It was a training day. It was on a Sunday. And my dad called me. And like, I don't know. I've seen my dad cry twice, I think, I think a lot of people have that story. They haven't really seen their pops cry that much. Haven't seen him emotional. But his voice was just so stressed. It was insane. I mean, stress is not even the right word. And he was like, Mark, and I was like, yeah, I'm here. And he's like, your brother, he's gone. And I knew what he meant because my brother struggled with addiction his whole life and stuff. And so, and then my mom's yelling in the background, and that was brutal. My mom's yelling, no, it didn't happen. I'm like, oh my God, this is crushing me. And, that really shook our family up really, really badly, as you can imagine. And I just remember I'm like, okay, where the fuck do I go? My wife's here and I can cry all day in front of her, but I'm not prepared to have a conversation with the kids right now about my brother dying from an overdose or whatever the fuck it is he died from, It's like, I'm just going to go into the bathroom by myself for a little bit. And so I went in there for a little bit, tried to collect my thoughts and tried to pull everything together the best I could. And so I did right away. I tried to tell my kids, what happened, because I always feel that it's really important to be inclusive, and it's really important that your family understands what's going on. My family knows where I'm at right now. They know I'm with you. They know the Onnit Academy. I've explained as much as they can handle of me explaining what the fucking Onnit Academy is to a 10 and 13-year-old kid, right? They get it. They at least have a basis, an understanding of what's happening. And so, I told them, I said, yeah, your uncle, he passed away. He's been addicted to drugs his whole life. And we can have a deeper conversation about it some other time. But that's why Dad's real sad. And that's why, I'm out of here. I'm going to take off for a little bit and go hang out with my friends. So I did that, and again, I'm fortunate to have some strong people around me that I can go to. I went to my friend's house, hung out with him. His dad died just a few weeks earlier, and the same thing happened. All the guys from the gym, they all huddled around him. When my brother died, all the guys from the gym, boom, they all huddled around me. So it's great to have that network of friends. It's great to have people that care that much. But it was probably just maybe a week or so later, I went to bed. And, I'm not like aliens and fucking ghosts and all these different things. I believe in them, but I'm not crazy into it or anything like that, or into these weird conspiracies of different things. But I went to bed that night and I had this whisper in my ear, and it just said, it was like I was dreaming about my brother, and he was there, and he like whispered in my ear, and it just said, think. And I woke up. I was covered in chills. I was fucking sweating. I was like, I felt sick. I didn't know what the fuck happened, you know? And so from that moment on is when I was like, whatever the fuck happened, I do need to think. I do need to be more mindful. I do need to pay attention to what the fuck's going on. You know, I have this impulse to make this fucking tool that I think can really help people, that I think can really, save a lot of people. A lot of people are super passionate about lifting, and they get a chunk of it taken away from them. They can't bench press anymore because their shoulder hurt. And in a lot of ways, some of the tools and some of the devices that I make are not just helping people lift more weight. They're helping them with their life. It's inspiring them. They're excited if they're wearing the strong sleeve and it's helping them because they have a bum knee. That's a huge lift for them. That's a huge emotional victory for them, that they're able to go back and still do some of these things that they love doing. And so I started putting my time and energy into the Slingshot. And as I was doing that, I started thinking about all the people that have told me over the years, I used to be able to do that. And I'm always like, oh shit, why do they always say they used to be able to do it? They get hurt and then they can't do it anymore. It's like, that fucking sucks. And so, started thinking of some ideas, messed around with a bunch of bad inventions and bad ideas that didn't work. I bought a bunch of super tight Under Armour shirts and tried to bench with those. One day I was putting on a t-shirt and I put it up over my bicep and then put the other side up over the other bicep. And then, before you stick your head in the hole to pull the shirt down, I kind of just pulled my elbows back a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay. Like maybe this thing that I'm thinking about would work like this. Because when you spot people on a incline dumbbell bench or dumbbell bench press, you spot their elbows. I'm like, now the shirt's on my elbows and it's going across my chest. I'm like, okay, well, it can't be made of like cotton, And so I tried these Under Armour shirts that I got were a couple sizes too small, and I had my arms all forward, and it probably helped me lift an extra like 5 pounds, but it hurt and like marked me up. And I'm like, shit, if I do that to the general public, they'll eat me alive. They'll be fucking pissed. For me, I'm like, hey, 5 pounds is 5 pounds. I'll take it. It's fucking great. But I knew that wouldn't be accepted. And plus the thing wore out right away. Because once you stretch this Under Armour shirt in one direction, it was kind of toast, So I played around with a bunch of other ideas. And then my dad and I was like Rain Man for a long time. I had all this equipment all over my fucking house. I had this one room that was like a R&D room back in the day. It was just a spare bedroom that we had. And I had knee wraps and wrist wraps and squat suits and bench shirts and all these different things. And I'd go in there and I'd fuck around with all this stuff all the time. I don't know why, but I was just into it. Even before I had the idea of the Slingshot, I liked the fabrics and the materials, and I was always trying to think of how do we make a better knee wrap? How do we make a better this or better that? That was before I ever had my own production line. I was just thinking, how do I fucking lift more? How can I cheat more?
Yeah.
How can I cheat more so I can lift more fucking weight on the platform, And I was playing around with this wrist wrap that I had in the trunk of my car, and I'm messing around with my dad with this thing. And my dad, takes the one end and he loops it around my arm, and I take the other side, loop it around the other arm. And my dad holds the Velcro in the middle, and I pull my arms back. And when I pull my arms back, the thing snaps, and it hits him in the face. He's like, well, shit, that ain't going to work. And I was like, no, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I was like, now I just need to figure out how to, make it so it doesn't fucking tear apart or whatever. And so my wife, people that are listening to this right now, stop for a second and think. Use the resources that are around you. You know more people than you think you do. And there's, they used to say there's 7 degrees of separation. Well, now there's only one because you have the fucking internet. So you can find anything.
You can write the president right now.
Yeah, right. You can tweet him and he might get you back, like he did with one of our guys in the gym, Ryan Spencer, who works for he works at the Capitol building. He made some comment to Trump, some smart ass comment, and Trump responded back. Pretty fucking cool. But anyway, I started playing around with this idea, and I told my wife about it. And my wife's like, oh, my friend, she makes swimsuits for our entire swim team. My wife's been a swimmer all her life, and It's like, maybe she could sew something together for you. So I met with her outside of a Starbucks in Woodland, California, and I had all these like wraps and knee wraps and stuff. And I said, "Hey, you think you can help me with this? You know, you can sew something like this together?" She said, "Yeah, I think so. I'll meet you here next week, and I'll have the thing sewn up for you." I was like, "Cool." So I met her there again, and right within like maybe 100 yards or so of that Starbucks is a Fitness 19. So I'm super excited. She shows me this thing she sewed together out of elastic, and I'm like, "Oh, stay right here. I'll be right back." And I run into this gym, just run in like you own the place. That's how you always get past the front desk. You know, you just pretend that you're there every day.
I'm somebody.
Yeah, and you don't have a membership or whatever. I was a fugitive at many gyms and never paid for any membership, so I was used to. I know the game. You know, hey, is Bob here? Oh, yeah, he'll be in here tomorrow. Huh? All right, cool. And you just go right past the person at the front door. But so then I go to the bench press, load it to 135 pounds, to throw on this preliminary version of a slingshot and bench 135 for like 10 reps, and it feels like an empty bar. And I get up off the bench and just covered head to toe in goosebumps. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is my ticket. I don't know what's gonna really come of this fucking thing, but this is awesome. I need to get a bunch of these made. I need to test them. And so I went back to this woman. Her name's Marilyn. Went back to her and said, "Hey, I need like 4 or 5 of these for my gym, so we can test them, make sure no one dies, make sure nobody gets fucked up from it." And from that point, after we tested them and stuff, it was just a matter of finding a manufacturer. And the complicated thing I did, which makes me a fucking genius, is I sat at Starbucks on my iPhone and I typed in knee wrap manufacturer. And I hit up one of the knee wrap manufacturers, and the first guy didn't work, and we got a bunch of shitty slingshots from him. I typed it in again a few weeks later, went to a second guy, and the rest is history. So it doesn't have to be that hard, doesn't have to be that difficult. Hopefully you don't have to go through a tragedy the way that I did, but use your phones, use your resources that you have around you.
Hell yeah, brother. The origins of the slingshot.
There you go.
I love it. Well, you have the Powercast is one of my favorite podcasts.
Oh, awesome.
It's absolutely phenomenal. You had an excellent guest named Kyle Kingsbury on not too long ago.
That guy was really handsome. I was shocked.
Not bad, right? And Jesse Burdick was also there, so we had a good conversation together. Gary Vee was one of my fucking favorites. Yeah. I've been a fan of Gary Vee's, and you guys crushed it. You went up to New York and podcasted with him. I still say that your episode with Dr. Andy Galpin was not only better than Rogan's, but better than mine, and just fucking out of this world. And you have so many, great podcasts. You also have a YouTube channel.
Yep.
You're fucking crushing it on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
Trying to pump out information.
Yeah. Where can people find you on all this stuff?
At Mark Smelly Bell on Instagram and Twitter, and then the YouTube handle is Super Training 06. And then anybody that wants to come to Super Training Gym, the gym's free. The gym's free, and it used to be kind of like an open type thing on Sunday, but now we're just opening up the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Anybody that wants to come, all you have to do is send us a message ahead of time. Make sure that we're there and make sure we're prepared, because now we're starting to get a lot of people flowing in there, and it's anyway. Just make sure you hit us up. Make sure we're aware that you're coming in, and the place to hit us up is on the Super Training Gym Instagram. So just slide into the DM.
Slide it in the DM.
That's right.
Fuck, it's been excellent having you. You're going to jump on a podcast later with Aubrey Marcus, our commander-in-chief, the CEO, and that's going to be excellent. You get to dive into some cool shit. Your brother and you have put together some amazing documentaries. I speak often about prescription drugs, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and you got another one coming out soon, right?
Yeah, my brother is, back to that creativity stuff. My brother is insanely creative. That's a real gift that he has. He's really powerful when it comes to that. And in fact, he's come up with a lot of the quotes and stuff that you see on the shirts, and strength is never a weakness. A lot of the stuff that we use, he's come up with a lot of that dialogue just because his mind just works that way. Really smart. But he and I are working on a nutrition movie. We're not really sure the exact name of it, but the name will shape as we go. War on Carbs, Land of Confusion. We're kind of going back and forth between a couple different things because people are really confused on what to do. And you'll have one guy 1 week say, hey, a low carb diet's the way to go. And you'll have another guy on the extreme and say, says on healthy. Somebody will say eggs are healthy. Somebody will say eggs are bad for you. Some people think meat's bad for you in general and you shouldn't eat it. There's all kinds of stuff to get into. And even when it comes to digestion, you would think, okay, well, digestion has to do with like your stomach. And it's like, well, no, you can back it up a little bit. Okay, digestion starts with like your tongue and your teeth and chewing and all that stuff, right? It's like, well, no, it actually starts before any of that happens. It happens in the cooking process. Well, no, hold on. It doesn't necessarily happen in the cooking process. How is the meat prepared before it's cooked? How is the meat treated before it's cooked? Is it grass-fed? Is it organic? So the list of things, goes on and on and on. And so far, what we've learned from just several people that we've interviewed is that it seems like the answer kind of keeps going back to the middle. And Andy Galpin said something to us that I thought made a lot of sense. He said, with most people that at least understand fitness, at least understand health in some fashion, they have like just a little preliminary education on like a bodybuilding diet and a low carb diet and stuff like that. He said, he goes, all I have to do is stare at them and they know the answer. So if you were to say right now, is milk bad? Then I just fucking stare at you. Like, what do you think? Like, and what that does is it kind of puts you on the spot and it makes you think, and you're like, well, bad is probably not the right word. Maybe some people don't digest milk as well as others. Milk has some good properties to it, and maybe it has some bad. Like, then it gets you thinking, and again, the answer kind of always lies down the middle. So that's what he and I are trying to tackle. I'm really excited about it. We're going to see Rob Wolf in just a couple days. We interviewed Stan Efferding, Andy Galpin. We have so many people to get to. I'm sure we'll end up back down here at the Onnit Academy to talk to you guys and to talk to Aubrey and stuff, because I think that this is a bigger thing to tackle than just nutrition. I think it ends up being, for some people, it ends up being religious. Some people it ends up being a spiritual thing. There's a lot that goes into all this, and so that's what the movie's about, and that's what we're working on.
Hell yeah, brother! I'm absolutely pumped.
Cool.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for jumping on the Onnit podcast. I can't wait to listen to you on the Aubrey Marcus podcast.
Awesome.
And fuck yeah, thank you, brother.
All right, man. Thank you.